Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Ernie.
and this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, Ernie, I think today might just be the nerdiest episode of Budget Nerds ever because we're not just talking about people that are like budget nerds. We're talking about tech nerds here, right? Like we're getting into the fancy
Ooh.
technology stuff. I mean, this is even nerdier than me. I don't even know how any of this works. But today we're talking about the YNAB API, and we're going to talk about all the interesting apps, or some of the interesting apps that the YNAB community has made that integrate with YNAB. So I guess first we should talk about what is an API? What does that mean? Because a lot of people probably don't know.
Now, you're not asking me, right? Because I have no clue. But I wrote it down. API, Application Programming Interface.
Yes.
Right?
So basically it's a way, and this is what's called an open API. So basically it's a way to connect different apps with YNAB, and specifically with your YNAB budget. You can make a secure connection called an OAuth connection, where basically somebody can create an app, various different kinds of apps that connect to your budget, and they can read information on your budget, and they can write information to your budget. And that way you can kind of have a really strong and secure connection between these two apps. And it lets people do all sorts of really creative things using YNAB. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, it brings this whole new set of features to YNAB. And how old is the Open API? I mean, a couple years here, maybe?
Gosh. At least, I think it's been at least about 3 years. I'm not actually sure. I'm trying to think. I remember we did a big, when we launched it, we did a big contest to like see what people could create, and it was really exciting. And I think that was about 3 or 4 years ago. So it's been a while. I think it's been about 3 years.
Okay, it's been that long.
Yeah, at least I think. So
Well-
yeah, it's been a while.
And so we've got 35, close to 40 apps right now on our API page. So we thought it'd be cool if we took a tour of some of our favorite apps. Kind of showed
Yeah,
you guys what they're all about, and maybe you can try out some for yourself.
Yeah, and those are just the apps that are public, that anybody can use, that have a privacy policy and all that stuff. Some people do create these connections just for themselves. You know, you can, if you're a tech savvy person, you know how to do it. You could create something that only you use, you know, that maybe connects with the spreadsheet and brings information in. But that's basically what it's about. It's about grabbing information from YNAB, bringing it into a new app, or sending information from a new app into YNAB. And yeah, some really creative ideas and really cool solutions to problems all YNABers have all the time in these community applications. So it's really exciting. So yeah, let's talk about a couple of them.
All right, I'll kick it off. Now, this is going to be the teacher and former support rep in me. I am really drawn to the bank sync apps. So these are the banks that allow you to connect with your banks. There are. And what I like about this is, well, back to YNAB, we can connect with most US, Canadian, UK banks. But that leaves a whole bunch of other international banks that we're not able to connect to right now. And so we have Bank Sync for YNAB, which supports Australian banks, Budget Feeder, which also supports Australian banks, and then Sync for YNAB, which supports over 100 banks in a whole bunch of different countries: United Kingdom, Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Romania, Ireland, Spain, Italy, France, and then Norway, Finland, and Sweden are coming soon. So it just opens up direct import to all these other folks. And so, you know, in classes, or I remember back in the support queue, folks coming over, does direct import work with my Australian bank? And, you know, it felt horrible. Like, no, it doesn't. But hey, now we have these, you know, APIs that would allow you to connect YNAB to your bank. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know, we've been slowly expanding direct import, you know, now in the UK, now in the EU as well, which is really exciting. And a lot of that, I think, is because of one of our developers, Scott, who actually created Sync for YNAB. And we ended up hiring him, right? So it might be, maybe making some of these apps might be a way to get a job at YNAB. I don't know, but yeah,
there we go.
That was a huge part of it. I mean, and man, it is crazy how much goes into being able to set these connections up. It's not just the tech, it's actually like you need to have like a business presence in these countries, and there's all sorts of regulations, and that's really it's I tell people, like, some people are in Australia or something, they're like, why won't you connect to the banks? And I'm like, well, it's not the tech, it's really the lawyers that you have to worry about, right? And so it takes some time, but people that are in those countries can make it happen a lot faster. And so yeah, there's a whole host of apps that people have created that allow you to make those connections. Sometimes they're really quick connections too. It's really exciting and really cool.
And I think because of all that underlying tech and maybe some of the legalese, whatever, there is a small cost associated with those API apps. Mm-hmm. But you can check out the link and see if it, that'd be something you want to do.
Yeah, check it out. Well, I'll go to my next one. I'll start with my personal favorite app that I use. It's called Sprout for YNAB. This one's really cool. Basically, it lets you add a transaction in your browser without having to actually open up YNAB. And I know that sounds like, okay, is that really that big a deal? It seems like you're already in your browser. Why not just go ahead and open YNAB? It saves a ton of time because it's basically a little browser extension, just sits up there. I use Chrome. It just sits there at the top, and you click on it, and it brings a little menu, and you just type in your information for a transaction. So whenever I buy something on Amazon, or if I pay a medical bill with my HSA or something like that, I just pop in there and put it in, and I don't have to actually open YNAB. I can just do it really quickly. And so it's pretty awesome. I don't know why. I think sometimes it's just the simple things that are really what I want. It's just a simple solution to quickly add a transaction without even having to log in. So it's pretty cool.
So probably a total guess for you, but what percentage of your transactions do you enter with that extension?
Ooh, good question. I mean, I enter my phone a lot when I'm out and about, of course. I wouldn't use this is not on your phone. Right. This is just in the browser. And then a lot of the transactions I enter when I reconcile, because I reconcile every day, and if there's anything that I didn't enter that's still pending in the bank, I'll add those transactions then. So that's probably the way I do most of my transaction entry. But this is really whenever I buy something on Amazon, whenever I pay a medical bill, which I have 4 kids, so there's a lot of those. so I do that
all
a lot.
The time.
Yeah. Anytime I pay a bill that's not like a regular bill, like my water bill, I can't automate. Pretty much all my bills are automated except for my water bill because it's run by the city. And man, they just haven't figured out how to do it. It drives me nuts. Anyways, anytime I pay an online bill or buy something online, I'll use it. So I guess it's quite a lot. I don't know, maybe 20% I'll use it for that. That's a random guess. But yeah, I use it quite a bit.
But it sounds like when you do use it, you love it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just gives me warm fuzzies because it's just kind of cool. I think the tech nerd in me enjoys it as well. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Very cool. So my next set of apps, again, this is me, the teacher, the former support rep. Multi-currency apps, because of right now you can't run multiple currencies in a budget. We recommend just having a separate budget for each currency. But with these two, foreign currency accounts for YNAB and then multi-currency for YNAB, you can run multiple currencies in just that one budget. So for those folks, and I know there's a lot of them, this would be a really cool app for them.
So how does it work? Does it calculate the exchange rate every day, or how's that work? Do you know?
So yeah, they both do work with that exchange rate, and I know I'm not going to be able to explain these very well, but I know there's one of them where it basically creates, using that exchange rate, what the value would be in the other currency. So you have all that information in the same budget, in the same account, in the same category.
Nice. Okay.
And
So
then the
so
other
kind
app,
of like it almost like makes the whole budget one currency in that sense because it does the calculations to make it.
yes, but you still have the data of the other currency, so you can see where you stand with that.
Cool.
So yeah, I thought both of them were pretty innovative and might be worth checking out, to see if that workflow is better than managing different budgets for the different currencies.
Yeah. I mean, generally we recommend separate budgets for separate currencies, especially for newer folks. But if you're like a power user, and if you're watching Budget Nerds probably, right? And you really want to try it out, that could be perfect, especially if you work with multiple currencies a lot. So yeah, try that out. It seems like a cool idea. All right, well, I'll talk about another one. This is a data visualization app called Heat Map for YNAB. And so what this does, it doesn't write any information to your budget, unlike Sprout for YNAB, which adds transactions. It just draws the transaction data from your budget and creates a really cool report for you that shows your spending and your income as a heat map, right? So you have you can show your spending by the year. It'll like create it'll create like different intensities of color for every day of the year, so you can see when you spend the most money. You can also do it by month, by days of the month. You could be like, hey, how often do I spend, or what day of the week do I spend the most money on, right? And you can look and you can see kind of a heat map report that shows you that kind of thing.
Do you know what day I spend the most money on? It wasn't even close. Tuesdays.
Why? Who knows why?
Tuesdays.
For me, it's
no
Thursdays,
idea.
apparently.
Thursdays was my lowest.
What? Yeah,
That's
and what's
really
weird
funny.
is like Wednesdays, I like don't spend anything. Apparently, I don't know what's going on, but it's actually, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's just kind of it's useless information. Like it doesn't actually really. It's not going to change my behavior at all. But it's just kind of cool. This is just like pure nerddom right here, right?
But you know what?
It's just kind of fun.
It can confirm any suspicions you have about the budget. That's what it did for me. I feel like we've been bleeding money all summer long. So I, hooked YNAB up to the heat map app, and sure enough, it was bright red June, July, and August.
That's really funny you say that, because I'm looking at mine right now, and I see that too. January's pretty. Yeah, it's like there's just like a muted colors. Like it's like a purpley red if it's lower, and it's like bright hot pink if it's higher amount of spending. And yeah, I'm seeing this, and I see the average spending is way higher in July and August as compared to the rest of the year, and that's really funny. I don't know why that is, but I guess it's because you're out and about more, right?
My February and January numbers, and I was like, oh, that's the budgeter I want to be. Like, actually not the budgeter, that's the spender I want to be. The numbers were so low compared to spring and summer.
Yeah, so have fun with it. You know what I did? I looked at, so you can, it's a lot like the reports in YNAB. In fact, the UI it draws a lot from YNAB, where you can filter by certain categories, right? And so you guys know I've talked about on Budget Nerds how I'm a big poker guy. It's a big hobby of mine with me and my friends. And so I filtered just to my poker category, right? Because anytime I play poker, I enter the loss or the win in YNAB, right? And I separate it just to the poker category so I can get the reports, right? And so I pull up the year heat map, and I go to net income. So it shows the income and the expenses as like a net thing. And so if I made money on a particular day of the year when I played poker, it shows in green. And if I lost money, it shows in pink or red, right? And I'm looking at it, and I see a lot more pinks and reds than I see greens. So it's just, a good confirmation that I'm bad at poker, right? And I'm giving my money to my friends an awful lot. But it is kind of cool to see.
That's why they keep inviting you every week.
Right. And I can see like the trends too. It's kind of interesting. Like, oh, I went on a heater here, and like I'm actually in August. I had a very good month in August. August went well for me, but yeah, May and June not so well. So it's kind of fun to see that kind of information in this new way that it's a report that's not in YNAB at all. It's just a real cool data visualization thing. So pretty fun.
Cool. The one I want to share, now I'm taking off the teacher hat. This is just my personal favorite API application. It's Beyond Rule 4. So it's an app to help you visualize where you are in terms of reaching retirement. And this was really interesting because I track those numbers myself in a separate spreadsheet. But the formula I'm using is telling me how much I need to save every single month so that I can retire by a set date.
Okay.
Beyond Rule 4 is telling me, based on what I've saved and based on what I'm expecting to spend in retirement, here's how long I have until retirement. And it showed me that I'm actually off track by a couple years, 2.5 years or so, which I kind of knew because I haven't been hitting that monthly savings amount. But it was really cool because, we're really, as budget nerds, right? We're dialed in to our categories and what we're spending in those. And so it's pulling in those values and helping you calculate your expected expenses during retirement. Now, because I remember when I've tried doing these calculations in the past, I was always like, I have no idea what I'm going to spend, but I'm in the budget now, right? So I'm looking at the actual numbers, and so I can really kind of dial it in. And so when I reran those numbers of what I'm expecting to spend in retirement, it actually upped the annual expenses about $5,000 than what I originally anticipated. And again, like I'm just guessing, right? This is a complete guess, but I felt like I had more data to work with to make a better guess. And so I had a lot of fun with it. And you can even do cool things in the budget where in the notes section of each category, you can tell Beyond Rule 4 what you want that value to be in retirement, right? So then every time I log into the app, I don't have to re-enter those expenses. It just pulls from the notes section. So I went through every single category and determined a value of what it might look like, 20 years from now.
I need to try this because I was literally just meeting with a couple weeks ago, meeting with my financial advisor, talking about retirement. And I think I started working with this person like 10 years ago, and I set an amount that I wanted to be able to spend in retirement back then that is probably lower than it really should have been because I was like, I think I was like in grad school. I was making we were living off one income pretty much. And the lifestyle's gone up a little bit, and I want to have a little more fun retirement. And so we were playing with the numbers there, and it's like, okay, well, if you want to do this, it's looking like I need to start saving more every month. But this would actually be based on real data in my budget right now that I could adjust and think about. So yeah, that's really cool. So it's really it's like a kind of a beefed up retirement calculator that actually uses the data in your budget. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
and you track retirement accounts, right? You roll them all up into one account and you track that balance once a month?
I have been doing that. I don't really do it once a month, like once every, it's kind of random. Probably like once a quarter at least is how often I update that.
But it pulls in all that tracking data, which is really nice because then you don't have to sign into all the individual accounts and figure out, here's what I have saved so far. The only other thing you need to consider is your safe withdrawal rate during retirement, and then your expected return on those investments. But it gives you some resources.
You can play with those variables, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic tool.
Nice, cool. I remember back in the day when I guess it was definitely pre-pandemic, so it had to be at least 3 years ago. In the before times, as I like to say. And we did this API competition. And I think this was one of the earliest apps that came out of the public API because it was in that competition. And I think it got second place or like third place. It was a runner up. And I remember, I think it was Sebastian, one of our developers who we were who was one of the judges determining this. He really wanted this one to win. He was like fighting hard for it. But like, there were several judges, and I think another one won. But it was definitely up there quite a bit. So yeah, it's a cool thing. Just some extra reporting is basically, and it's nice because you can you can look at all sorts of retirement calculators and stuff, but this actually uses the real data that you've already entered in YNAB and just spits it out for you. So that's pretty cool. Nice.
And it made me think of the last episode we did when we're talking about being between priorities. Maybe some of those folks are like, okay, just accomplish these goals. I don't know what's next. Well, start thinking about retirement and use Beyond Rule 4 to dial in where you're at and where you want to be. So
nice. All right. Well, the last one I think I'll talk about is called Share for YNAB. So this is really cool. Basically, what it does is it creates an interface for a partner or a family member or anybody really to look at your budget, but only the categories that you want. So what you do is you go in, you connect your budget to YNAB, and it brings in all that information. So it has all the categories. It kind of recreates YNAB in their separate app, right? And you have all the data there, and then you can actually set permissions. So you can invite somebody to join in on your budget with Share for YNAB, and you can say, okay, this person, I only want to see these 5 categories, right? So you give permissions on which categories you want them to see. You can even dial in more. You can say view only on this category. On this category, I want them to be able to write transactions. So you can let them. You can give them write permissions, which means you can let them add transactions from Share for YNAB, and they can add transactions. Or or another one, you just want them to be able to view it. And so you give different levels of permission for different categories. And so it's really cool. This could be perfect for like a roommate situation where it's like, oh, I want you to be able to see these transactions or these categories, or a partner. I mean, there's endless applications for
kids, business partners.
Yeah, it's really nifty. Now, I will say we are working on similar features, and this is how it goes a lot of times, right? Like you ever see like they'll be like, you remember there used to be like a separate flashlight app on an iPhone, right? And then Apple like integrated it, right? So yeah, we're working on this like built into YNAB. I'm not so sure about at least being able to invite a partner and stuff. We're going to be talking about that soon, but this says a lot of things a lot faster than what we can do, because it has to be perfect. We have to go through tons of testing, and it's just a whole long process. But this can kind of just do it fast and loose, and you can try it out. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Interesting. So if I'm understanding this right, I could lock my wife, Christy, out of my personal spending category. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, assuming she can't actually look at YNAB, right? So she could log into YNAB, and of course she could see it, right? But this creates a separate app that basically just shows you what's already in YNAB, and you decide which categories she sees, right? And so it's kind of neat. Yeah. So if you had somebody who, I think a roommate's a really good example where it's like, hey, we have these shared expenses, and I'm keeping track of them right here, but I don't want you to see everything else. I just want you to see like these 5 things. They can log in and do that, Now there's a social aspect to this. You actually have to convince them to set up this app and look at it, right? But it's a cool thing. I mean, if anything, it's just a cool thing to play with and try it out.
And I'm joking about, locking it from my wife, Christy. Actually, not really, because she likes to mess with me. So she'll go into my personal spending money and transfer it to her account. She hasn't done that in a while. Just
to
probably
mess
because I
with you.
monitor it more now. But I was thinking, if there's a way to prevent that.
Well, now you
That's
have a
funny.
record of it because there's money moves. So if that ever does happen and she's trying to prank you, you'll you'll know, and you'll be able to track it. So that's helpful at least. Because it used to be, you
Well,
can just
this
do
is
that stuff
funny
and there'd
for
be no record of it.
Yeah. With the Beyond Rule 4 app, I was going through all my categories and entering in the notes section, what that expense would be in retirement. And I got to Christie's personal spending category, and the note that she wrote for herself, steal money from Ernie. That's like, jeez, what's going on
Harsh.
here?
I love it. Oh man, yeah. I have two friends that also use YNAB, and they they'll like make bets with each other. Like they have the same bank account, right? Like their finances are joint, but they have separate spending categories in YNAB. So like they'll like make bets with each other on stuff, and then they can transfer the money between. So yeah, there's a lot they can do there. It's pretty funny. In fact, I actually play poker with both of them.
All right.
And so they and we're like, hey, this isn't fair. Like you guys have the same bank account. Like you can't, like it's like taking money. You can't take money from each other. And they're like, we have separate poker categories that are entirely separate. So it's pretty funny.
There we go. Well,
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun to pretend that we were genius developers and we could develop an API app.
Okay.
So you tell what you would develop. I'll share what I would want developed, or I would try to develop myself. Who am I kidding?
Okay.
It'd be more realistic. I'm just going to put an idea out there for someone else to develop.
Yeah, because I'm a tech nerd, but I'm more of like a hardware tech nerd. Like I know lots about monitors and about computers. Like a software, I'm not so much of a software tech nerd. You know what I mean? So, and I definitely don't know how to code anything. But okay, what would I do? What would be the idea? I think I just want more Sprout for YNAB type stuff. Like I just want YNAB in everything. Like it's like, hey, I heard you like YNAB, so put YNAB in your YNAB so you can YNAB while you YNAB. Like that's basically what I want. Like I want like a Slack integration. Like okay,
Ooh.
yeah, like I want it everywhere. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm actually surprised this hasn't happened yet because I think Slack has an open API. Maybe it has, and I bet this could happen pretty. Well, I say pretty easily. I'd actually have no idea. It's somebody out there create this, make this happen. So yeah, like where you could like type in anywhere in Slack and add a transaction, or actually even better would be maybe I want to know what the balance is in my personal spending category, but I'm too lazy to pick up my phone or go to the browser and look. And so I can just type in on Slack, hey, what's the balance on X category? And it would tell me right there. That would be neat. I would like that. Yeah, I think I keep going back to Slack
makes sense.
that's open like all the time at work. So yeah,
I was going to say, you probably have Slack open more than you have YNAB. So
more than I should,
makes complete
actually.
sense.
Probably I'd probably be a much more efficient person if I didn't. It's basically like our social media for the whole company, but also important stuff too. But yeah, that would be cool. Where else? Like we there is an integration. Actually, we have an official API app where it connects to Amazon Echoes. So it's called Alexa for YNAB. So you can actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, you can actually ask Alexa for your category balance and stuff, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I just want it everywhere. Like, I don't know, like I want it on like a Fitbit or something, or like on I just want to be able to ask what a category balance is everywhere all the time. Maybe like on your car, your little screen on your, I don't actually have that because my car's old, but like, like I want to be able to like ask my car how much money I have in a category and it tell me. I don't know. I just want YNAB everywhere all the time. Is basically what I'm saying.
Taking awareness to a whole new level. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the app I want to see developed is syncing for my tracking accounts. Because of right now, YNAB does not sync with any of my investment accounts, retirement accounts, all those things. And so that'd be really cool because that would save me the time logging in every month, getting those balances, copying and pasting them. into YNAB.
But your
Now,
bubble
you
bath would be so
probably
short.
have to pay for
Ernie.
that. Right.
I mean,
That's going to be tonight.
I'm not. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Because we're recording this on August 31st, so this is going to be. Yeah, this is
August
your big
31st?
moment. You got. Yeah. Well, if you guys didn't know, Ernie has a big process for the month rollover, and I always imagine it's a very zen thing for Ernie. So I always imagine he lights a few candles and gets in the bubble bath and with his computer and makes it happen. But that's not actually what happens, to be clear. But yeah. This would make that whole process too short for you, Ernie. I don't think it's a good idea because you would cut out the whole process of logging into those accounts, and I don't know, your bubble bath would be too short.
I know it. Well, it would solve the one-time passcode issue. That is so annoying to me because two of the accounts are Christie's. I don't mind managing my own passcodes, right? Because the way it integrates with 1Password, it's really simple, and the way the browsers interact with my phone. But Christie's, I have to, usually she's sitting next to me. Hey, what is it?
Get out
or
of
if
the
she's
bubble
not,
bath,
it's like constant text messaging.
You have to put the towel around. You have to ask her for the one-time password. Yeah, that just harshes your whole vibe, right?
Right. Well, and the other thing here is you would have to pay for an app like this. And I don't think I'm willing to, right? Is $5 a month, $10 a month worth saving a minute of logging in and out of those bank accounts once a month? Right? Probably not.
Because unlike with your spending accounts, you're not bringing in information all the time. I mean, I guess there are transactions happening in these investment accounts, but they're not worth tracking, right? Because it's just like, oh, this trade was made on your behalf like 45 times a day or something. I don't know how it works, but yeah, that kind of stuff you don't really need to have in YNAB. You just want to update the balance, right? That's all you really want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's another good point is, do I want to know about all those daily fluctuations? I don't think I do. I kind of like not knowing where my balances are most of the month.
There's no reason.
I do keep track of the stock market, but I just kind of know it went up or down, right? I'm looking at percentages. I'm not looking at actual dollar amounts in my account. And so if I were to log in and all of a sudden I'm looking, to do a Zen budgeting session, just got paid or something like that, and I see that my retirement account dropped $10,000, well, that's going to hurt your vibe. That doesn't help me stay calm. Right. That's going to totally hurt the vibe. So maybe this isn't a good idea.
That's a whole question. Like, yeah, you don't need to see on a daily basis where your retirement accounts are. I mean, you're investing for decades, right? And it's actually probably, I sometimes I even think once a month is too much, or even once a quarter, when it was usually about how often I update it. I'm like, should I even be paying attention to this? Should I even have it in YNAB? Like, should I just totally ignore it and just keep plugging along? I don't know. But, it's one of those things that you just got to figure out for yourself, I think.
Jesse's podcast this week, I don't know if you listened to it, but he talked about getting the tracking accounts out of YNAB. He said there's no value to keeping them in there. Because it is. It's a long-term game.
I thought about it too, because I did this thing when I did the fresh start where I combined them. So I have one account for all the college funds, which I feel like was a bad idea, but and then I have one account for all the retirement accounts, and I was like, oh, this is great because now it's just simpler. But it's actually more complicated because I have to like calculate the total balance. I have to get a spreadsheet out every time I do it and like type in the total amounts and then sum them up, and it's just like, this is silly. It's actually worse. but I do have fewer accounts in the sidebar, which is kind of nice. But I actually thought about that when I heard that podcast. I'm like, maybe I should just not. But then my net worth wouldn't be as accurate on my net worth report in YNAB, and I can't handle that. I couldn't use beyond rule 4, right? That wouldn't work at all. So I mean, I guess you could enter the numbers, but it wouldn't bring it in automatically. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a tough one.
All right. Well, that was a fun API tour, and for those folks that want to check out the apps, we'll put a link in the podcast show notes and in the YouTube description. So be sure to check those out. But Ben, why don't we do some YNAB wins?
Let's do it.
What was all in your mind?
All right, we got 2 wins here. I'll take the first one. This is from Bavarian Rev. Bavarian is a frequent commenter on the show, and this win came from the What It's Like to Work with a Bunch of Budget Nerds episode. I love the feeling when you get the email from the car insurance that your annual bill is due, and you just think, oh, it's already paid for, as in I put the money aside for it already. It's like it doesn't even exist. LOL.
Lol.
Love it. That's
Love
a huge win.
Yeah, that's huge. It really is.
I think
it happens all the time. Like it just keeps happening, and and it never gets old. I've been budgeting for a long time now, many years, and I'm just like, oh yeah, it's paid for, and it just gives me a little bit of happiness every time.
that's the thing. As budget nerds, we've probably been doing this, most folks, for years and years, right? But yeah, it still does bring the joy of like, hey, I've prepared for this bill for the past 12 months. We're good to go. Love it.
Yeah, never gets old. All right, let's go to Ashley, who says, this was on the what we've learned in 2 years of budget nerds. So this is cool. Ashley says, I have been YNABing for 1 year now and watched all episodes prior to signing up for my trial. Oh, okay. So Ashley was like a true budget nerd even before she was a YNABber. Love to see it. Says, I was hiding from my family, wondering how I was going to pay for everything that is due at the end of the year, but I managed it last year. This year, I am waiting on the bills to roll in so I can pay them. I get a hefty discount for paying early. Yes, and that will more than pay for my subscription costs this year. Oh, the kicker is a fall vacation fully funded right when all these bills are due. Extra wins. I love that. Yeah, like the idea of instead of having a pile of bills waiting for money, you have a pile of money waiting for bills, right? And so she's flipped that script, and that's so cool to see.
And that vacation, I think I commented to Ashley in YouTube there. That vacation is just going to be extra special, right? Extra relaxing and calming because got control of the money. This thing is already funded. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I just went on vacation and it was nice to be able to be a little spendy, maybe a little more spendy than I normally am and not have to worry about it because I know I've fully funded that vacation. So pretty cool.
Well, folks, we mentioned this last episode, but we are running short on wins. I'm sure, with that announcement last episode, we got a whole bunch more, but we could still take even more. So if you have a YNAB win, share it in the YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, you can email us, cue jingle, at budgetnerds. No, what is it? budgetnerds@youneedabudget.com. That's it.
You got it. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a win. It could be a win like, oh, I paid off X amount of dollars in X amount of time, right? That could be that kind of win. But it could also be like Bavarian and Ashley's wins where it's just like, hey, I just feel better about my money, right? We want to hear about those too. So anything you got,
absolutely.
Love to see it.
All right, friends. Thanks so much for sticking with us for another episode. We'll see you in a couple more weeks. Until then, happy budgeting.
Happy budgeting. See ya.